All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. My name is Liz Day, and we're going to be chatting about TripAdvisor's TripConnect. All right, for those of you that don't know me, I am the digital marketing manager here at rezStream. Recently just celebrated my 6th anniversary with the company, so real exciting time. I was born in San Diego, California, raised in Peoria, Illinois, and have been out in Denver for the last several years. So with today's webinar, I wanted to kind of keep it short and simple and making sure that everybody gets what they need on this new feature that we recently launched on the Cloud PMS. So for those of you that aren't super familiar with TripConnect, I recently did a webinar here at rezStream on the OTAs, and one of the major platforms that we discussed was meta-search sites. So meta-search platforms like TripConnect allow people to compare prices offered on different OTAs and properties. And the way that these work is the meta search firms make money through selling advertising on their searches like search engines, but rather than commissions, they charge a cost per click as well for standard advertising. So we'll go into more about costs later on, but just to kind of give you a heads up on what are some of the benefits here as it relates to TripAdvisor's TripConnect, which is their meta search program, is obviously you can maximize bookings because you're going to be able to show what your real-time rates are on TripAdvisor through your listing for those potential guests. And what happens is TripConnect sends travelers who are already ready to book with you from TripAdvisor to your website's booking page. And by doing so, you're obviously able to increase online revenue by sending those visitors directly to your booking engine. And you're also able to reduce on costs because instead of having to pay, say, Booking.com or Expedia, the 15 to 20% to acquire those reservations, you're now paying a very small fee just to get that click into the booking engine for those guests to complete that reservation directly with you. So really short and simple, you are no longer having to pay those commission fees to the OTAs to acquire those reservations. So it's a win-win. So just to kind of give you an idea of what this TripConnect program looks like to those potential guests of yours, they're going to land on your TripAdvisor listing. It can be a business listing, which is going to be that paid listing that TripAdvisor offers, or it's going to be your free listing. And these visitors are going to have the ability to check out various dates depending on when they're wanting to visit your area or stay with you. And then by participating in the TripConnect program, you are giving yourself the opportunity to show up as a result based on your availability for those time periods by promoting your official site rate. So this is not a platform that you need to manage separately. It is 100% tied to your booking engine availability. So you're not having to manage inventory, you're not having to manage minimum night stays. All of that is being directly fed through your booking engine. And in this case, it's going to be rezStream's booking engine, whether you're on Res Pro or the rezStream Cloud. And then that rate, whichever it is that you're advertising, is going to show up as a result for a potential guest to click on, and then they're going to get connected directly into your booking engine. And again, you're only paying for the clicks into your booking engine. So you can show up as many times as you want. You're not having to pay based on the amount of times that you're displaying as a result. You're only paying for those actions and clicks that you're getting from those results. So that is a really nice option to have because, again, you're only paying for what you're getting. Another thing that I wanted to point out, and this is something I touched upon in my last webinar, but you may have noticed that when you are doing some of these searches on your own listing, that you're seeing now as a result this TripAdvisor with Booking.com. So what Booking.com has done is they've signed a deal with TripAdvisor, which would allow customers to book rooms directly through a TripAdvisor site. So instead of the TripConnect program where they're being taken to Booking.com to complete that reservation, They've signed up for their instant booking program where those guests can complete that entire reservation without having to leave the TripAdvisor site. So if you are advertising on Booking.com, this is just another opportunity for you to acquire those reservations through your TripAdvisor listing. So again, the way this works, just high level, travelers are going to be doing research. They're probably going to be wanting to know what past guests have said about staying at your property. So they're going to go to TripAdvisor. They're going to find you. From there, you're going to elect to enter into that auction with that TripConnect program. So your booking engine will show what those rates are based on your availability and the accommodations available to be booked. And then from there, you're going to acquire those direct reservations, assuming that after they've found the accommodation that they like and they've identified that that rate is a good fit for them, they're going to go ahead and finalize that reservation process with you when they're taken to that rezStream booking engine. So now that I've kind of given you a high-level overview of exactly how that works and some of the perks of utilizing that TripConnect program, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the best practices that we share to our online marketing clients. But obviously these are tips and tricks for you to take advantage of even if you're not a marketing client of ours. So I hope this is helpful for you. So just really quickly, just knowing that with the TripConnect program, you're obviously going to be advertising against some of the OTA websites like Booking.com and Expedia and Hotels.com, sites of that nature. And the goal here is for your own website to acquire that reservation. So again, you're having to avoid those commission costs. So one of the first things that you're going to want to do is take advantage of setting up a budget. And TripAdvisor gives you a few different options of how you can set that campaign budget, whether you want to have an ongoing budget or if you want to set a certain amount and then you are just being deducted from that total amount. But one of the things that we recommend taking advantage of is setting a daily cap. And the reason why you want to set a daily cap is because if you're not taking advantage of that setting, you're giving TripAdvisor free rein to charge you whatever amount that they want based on the clicks that you're getting. So one of the ways that we try to gain more control and to maximize that budget that we're managing for our clients, and also to make sure that we're not blowing through, hundreds of dollars in just a matter of a few days, is setting that daily cap. So I think at the lowest you can go about $10 a day, and then obviously you can see in this example we're going slightly higher with that, but take advantage of giving people the ability to only spend a certain amount of your budget each day, so again you're not blowing through those dollars in a matter of a day. The second best practice that we recommend is making sure that you're targeting the countries that are actually generating those online reservations for you. So you may not know this, but when you're going through and actually setting up your campaign, you're going to ultimately, at first, be targeting anything and everything in terms of countries that TripAdvisor has set up as an option. And let me tell you, there are a lot of options, and it's kind of sneaky, but TripAdvisor does not make this extremely obvious to you. So in order to make this happen, what you're going to want to do is in that TripConnect program's campaign setup, you're going to want to click on this Show Top Markets drop-down, and then from there you're going to see every single one of the countries that they're giving as an option. Those are going to be clicked and they're going to be selected. So what we recommend doing is taking a look at your database, taking a look at your Google Analytics account, understanding the countries that are generating those reservations for you, and then focusing on those. So unfortunately, TripConnect is not as advanced as other pay-per-click or cost-per-click platforms like Google AdWords, where you can get super granular by targeting not only by zip code, but specific cities. TripConnect keeps it pretty high level in general by just sticking with countries. So in this scenario, we had a client who not only generates a lot of reservations from the United States, but then they also get a decent amount of guests from Brazil. So we went ahead and selected United States and Brazil, and then unselected all the remaining countries. So that's just another way for you to make sure that the money that you are investing in this program is going to be targeting those guests that you know are typically going to stay with you. And obviously you can do some testing here, so definitely feel free to play around if you want, but a lot of the time we want to be careful about how we're spending that money and where we're getting those clicks from, so just know that you have this additional control over how that money is being spent. So another thing that we want to point out to you, and this is a best practice that we have here internally, is so not only are you going to have the opportunity to target those countries for additional control over how that money is being spent, but you're also going to have the ability to say that I want to target my desktop users in these countries, and I also want to target my smartphone users for these countries. So most of the time, those are going to be pretty consistent. You're going to be targeting the same countries for your desktop users as well as smartphone users, which you can kind of see there in that slightly above here, desktop bids, mobile bids. But then also what TripConnect allows you to do is be able to set some specific bids for those types of users as well as countries. So typically what we recommend doing is bidding for that first position. That's going to catch your potential guests' attention quicker. So make sure that you're going in, I would say at least once a week, making sure that you're showing up in that first position. If you're not, if you're showing in the second, third, fourth, make sure that you're updating what you're willing to spend for those clicks. Again, the cost per click is only when those visitors see you show up as a result and then they're clicking to get taken to your booking engine. And it's really going to vary depending on what you have to spend. It has to do with the competitiveness of your area. So typically if you're in a very large city like San Francisco and there's a lot of competitors that are wanting to also bid against you, you're going to have to be more aggressive. And keep in mind, you're not bidding against your competitors in the sense of who's next to you or who's down the street. You're bidding against the OTAs who are wanting to try to acquire those clicks to get those reservations instead of you. So again, make sure that you're going in here once a week, updating those bids to reflect that first position. We've seen anywhere from 20 cents all the way up to $2 to $3 per click. Again, make sure that you're checking analytics to understand where those reservations are coming from and optimize your campaigns based off of that, whether it is pausing on targeting a specific country or maybe choosing to do more aggressive bidding on those desktop users versus smartphone if you're seeing more success there. One thing I will caution you is the last thing you want to do is click on this button here where it says bid to first position, because if you click on that, you're going to be taken to this again where it's going to automatically target all those same countries that you just went through and unselected. So you want to make sure that you do your bidding right here. Do not click on this. I know it seems super easy and simple, but again, you're going to be just setting yourself one step back by targeting all those countries that you don't want to target and spend money on. So make sure you're doing your bid updates directly in that dashboard here, and make sure that you're checking not only your desktop bids but your mobile bids for those different countries. And what they'll do is they'll give you an idea of what exactly where you're going to be positioning and the anticipated click volume. So you're going to have an idea of where you're going to be standing based on those changes that you're proposing to make. So the next thing that I wanted to kind of keep in mind is you are advertising in some cases against yourself, because if you're advertising on booking.com, if you're advertising on expedia.com, you're going to want to make sure that you are the most attractive option when you are showing up as a result based on what dates people are looking for. So as it relates to your OTAs, make sure that you are managing those platforms as best as possible and some tips and tricks that we do to really make sure that you show up as the most attractive rate, aka most of the time it's going to be the least expensive rate or the more affordable rate. You're going to want to make sure that you're managing your inventory based on low seasons. Make sure that you're only taking advantage of those OTAs when you absolutely need to based on need periods. Maybe you can play around with some minimum night stays. So again, when you are having to pay those 15 to 20% commissions for those reservations, you're actually getting a good deal out of it versus just a one-night stay. And think about maybe only promoting those higher priced rooms. So again, these are just some tips and tricks where when you're showing up as a result, when people are doing those searches on your TripAdvisor listing, you're not only going to be placed as the first result, but you're also going to be the most attractive option to go with to acquire that reservation from that potential guest. Obviously, if you are not advertising on Booking.com or Expedia or any of those major OTAs, the good news is that if you are participating in TripConnect, you're going to be the only result possible for people to book through. So less competition for you to have to try to compete with in order to get that clicking, to get that reservation. So that's really positive to see and obviously have that additional platform to advertise those direct rates on. So good news there. So the last thing that I kind of want to touch upon is obviously tracking results, because what's the point of spending a bunch of money if you don't even know what that's getting you? So all of you should have Google Analytics. You know, that is definitely a platform that we would suggest having. If you, for whatever reason, do not have a Google Analytics account, or you do not have revenue tracking and you're using the rezStream booking engine, regardless of if you're on the cloud or with Res Pro, get in contact with us today. We are happy to get you set up with that. That is something that you absolutely need if you don't have already. And if you want to, obviously you can move forward with taking advantage of the TripConnect program, and you're going to be able to see, I'm spending X amount of dollars each month on TripAdvisor for this TripConnect program, and I'm getting X amount of online reservations and X amount of online revenue from that. So in your Google Analytics account, you can use the source medium report, which is under that acquisition section. And you're going to want to just pull TripAdvisor, and it's going to be labeled as tripadvisor.com/CPC, which stands for cost per click. And so in this example, I can say, wow, this client, we've been able to refer 838 visitors from the TripConnect program, and we've been able to generate 14 online reservations totaling a little over $3,200 in online revenue. So this is obviously crucial for us to be able to go back to obviously communicate that to the client, but then on top of that, we're able to make changes to that campaign to hopefully improve those results even more. So you may all be wondering, okay, well, this all sounds great. How can I take advantage? What do I need to do in order to get this kicked off? So one of the first things that you're going to want to do is obviously have a TripAdvisor listing. The beauty about this is you do not have to have a business listing on TripAdvisor to take advantage of this program. So back in the day when they initially launched TripConnect, they required people to have, or I should not say people, but properties to have a business listing. So you had to pay that annual fee or monthly fee to TripAdvisor in addition to setting up your monthly budget in order to participate on that TripConnect program. Now they've changed those rules, so you don't have to have that paid business listing with TripAdvisor to take advantage of this cost per click platform. This is also something that we're really looking hard at for our clients, especially when we're negotiating those annual business listing contracts, because sometimes there's performance metrics behind the last 12 months to justify obviously moving forward with that business listing. But then also with TripConnect being available, whether it's a free or paid listing with TripAdvisor, we're now having to rethink and really push ourselves to understand if it really makes sense for us to continue advertising with that paid business listing with TripAdvisor when we can advertise our real-time availability through that TripConnect program while also maybe cutting some costs based on whatever the client had paid over the past 12 months for that business listing. So again, free or paid listing in order to try to take advantage of that TripConnect program. The second part is you need to work with a certified internet booking engine. So just because you have an online booking engine does not mean that you are guaranteed to advertise on TripConnect. Your booking engine has to do some development in order to be entered into that TripConnect program as a certified booking engine partner. Good news is rezStream is. And better news is that you can use TripConnect whether you're on Res Pro or rezStream Cloud. So that's great news. And third thing here is you need to be registered and a verified owner on TripAdvisor. So you just need to make sure that you have ownership of that TripAdvisor listing in order to get started. And then the last thing here is you're going to want to visit the tripadvisor.com/cost per click URL. That landing page will take you through the process of setting up. One thing that I want to make you all aware of is that if you are an old Res Pro user and you recently onboarded to the Cloud PMS, you're going to need to deactivate your old TripConnect campaign. You're going to have to make them reactivate that feed to the Cloud PMS, and this can take up to 48 hours or 72 hours depending on how fast they're willing to move for you. But again, once that's all set up, you should be good to go. From there, you can set up your budget. You can select the countries that you're going to want to target. You can choose if you want to bid in that first, second, or third position. Again, we recommend bidding in that first position. And then from there, just launch that program, check it once a week, look at your Google Analytics, and make sure that it's doing right by you by acquiring more of those direct reservations. So that, I think, really short and simple, is kind of a good overview of what that TripConnect program looks like. I hope you all found it super helpful. Obviously, if you have any questions, I'm here. You can reach out to me. I've already received a few phone calls, and I know that internally we've had a few people reach out to us on some questions. We encourage you to reach out and get connected with us so you can stay up to date on some of these new and exciting features that we're going to be sharing with you. So let me go ahead and take some questions. So let's see here. Forgive me one second. So one question was, you said one strategy would be to only advertise your higher price rooms on the OTA like Booking.com, but if we use rezStream Cloud as a channel manager, there is no way to do that because we don't have the ability to close out rooms on Booking.com unless we block them out on rezStream also, which makes them unavailable. Once rezStream is the channel manager, we lose the ability to close out rooms. So you should actually be able to access your Booking.com listing, and you should have complete control to say, instead of offering all of my availability, I only want to offer availability for these certain rooms. So if you're having issues doing that, get in touch with us, and we can walk you through how to have that additional control over exactly what it is that you're making available on those OTA websites. Let me move on to the next one. Let's see here. There was another question regarding pricing. This is a huge thing. So again, I don't know if I made it super clear, but you are not paying rezStream anything additional in order to take advantage of TripConnect. You are only paying additional to set up that monthly budget and to advertise on TripAdvisor. So whether you're a Res Pro client or a Cloud PMS client, you do not have to pay anything additional outside of what you're already paying us in order to take advantage of this. You're simply having to set up a monthly budget through TripConnect to get that going. Let's see here. Do you still pay if they click through and do not book? No transaction completed. Yes, unfortunately, You are paying for that click into the booking engine. There is no promise that those visitors are going to complete that online reservation process. So you are being paid for those users to get into that booking engine process after you've shown them not only what your rate is, but that you have availability for those different types of rooms that you're advertising. Good news is that these visitors are extremely qualified, so the chances of them not converting is pretty low. If you see that there's a lot of visitors leaving that process after clicking through, you need to take a better look at that booking engine and how you have that set up. Maybe you're making it confusing. Maybe there's things in your terms and conditions that are preventing people on wanting to complete that reservation with you. So again, look at that Google Analytics, figure out what you're spending, what you're getting out of it, and if you're not getting a return, you need to take a deeper look at that online booking engine of yours and what are some opportunities there that you can take advantage of to make that process as smooth as possible. So I think that was about it in terms of questions. Let me see actually. Does the click land on our normal rezStream booking engine webpage? Yes. So they're going to be taken, instead of having to start at that 2-month calendar at the very beginning of that online reservation process, visitors are going to see your availability. They're going to be shown a specific room that has that rate tied to it, and then they're essentially having to click into that booking engine process where if you have point of sale items or packages that you're advertising, they're going to be taken there. If you're not doing that, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because that's an opportunity for you to upsell, then you're going to be taken immediately to that confirmation page. So they're having to fill out that form, and then from there, they should be making that reservation with you final. How does this work with Booking.com on extranet? We're not on GDS, so it doesn't have to do with GDS. So as long as you are advertising on Booking.com directly, one-on-one, or if you are advertising on GDS, whatever you're making available to Booking.com, you're giving yourself an opportunity to show up as a result on that TripAdvisor page, because Booking.com is also a partner of the TripConnect program. And I just had one more question about, is this a recorded, is there a recorded version available for download? And yes, we will be finalizing this recording after today's webinar. We'll post it on our website. For those of you that signed up but were unfortunately able to join, you will be receiving a recording. We also have a webinars page on our website where you can visit this one as well as any other webinar that we've done. So in the future, if you know that you're interested in learning about a particular topic that we're going to be hosting a webinar about, but you don't know about your schedule, I always would encourage you to sign up regardless, because you're going to receive a recording of that webinar, and you can obviously listen to that when it's a more convenient time for you. So let's see here. What happens if your budget is used and someone clicks? So when your budget is used, you're no longer going to be able to show up as a result. So your budget is your lifeline in order to keep showing up as a result in that booking engine widget that TripAdvisor has on your listing. So you need to be mindful of not only how you're setting up that campaign budget, whether it's a reoccurring one where you're allowing TripAdvisor to just run it indefinitely, or if you're setting it up to say, I only want to spend $600 because this is my first time trying this out and I want to have a really good feel for what I'm getting out of it before I just give TripAdvisor free reign to spend it using that cap. So again, that's going to obviously give you some more flexibility to continue showing up as a result in that widget. If you're using the cap where you're saying I only want TripAdvisor to spend $300, once you've maximized that $300 budget, you're out of that auction and you're going to need to go back into your account, add more money to that account in order to continue showing up as a result. Another comment that I just got, these continue rolling in, so I apologize. I had another comment that says, problem with TripConnect is no matter what you do, it seems that the OTAs always outbid me and get me lower than the third position. That could happen if you are in a very competitive market. That is definitely a challenge here, especially as an independently owned property. You're kind of playing against some of the larger corporations like Expedia and Hotels.com and Priceline and OTAs like that. So again, what we try to do is really understand what we're having to spend on each click to drive those visitors into our client's booking engine. We obviously would love for you to show up as the first position. If the first position is too much and we're not seeing the value out of bidding that high, then we may limit to the second or third, but we always want you to show up at least between the first and third. That is why we go in and we're checking what those bids are at least once a week. And sometimes if you are in a really highly competitive area, you are going to have to be more aggressive with those bid increases. At the end of the day, if your budget is not sustainable with being able to compete against those OTAs, then this may not be the best platform for you. But again, I think there are a few different opportunities there to make sure that the money that you are spending is focused on those visitors that you'll see a return out of, whether that is targeting desktop versus smartphone or those specific countries that you've seen those reservations come through. All right, so I think that is it in terms of questions. As I mentioned earlier, we will be sending out a webinar recording. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks again so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend. If you have any feedback on future webinars that you'd like to learn more about, or any feedback for me as a presenter, definitely make sure to fill out that survey that we'll be sending along with that recording after I complete this webinar. So thanks again, and I hope you all have a wonderful week.